infidelity is the nemesis of marriage. Infidelity means being unfaithful, deceitful, cheating, or committing adultery. In India, infidelity was considered a criminal offence until it was decriminalised in 2018 by the Supreme Court. In light of this, we take a look at the present law relating to adultery in India.
So simply put, adultery is nothing but a voluntary physical relationship between a married person and the person who is not his or her spouse. Now let us look into the law. Now the section here states that whoever has a sexual intercourse with a wife of another married man without the man's consent or connivance, and such sexual intercourse is not a rape, it is guilty of committing the act of adultery, and it is subject to the punishment with imprisonment of up to 5 years or a fine or both. Now, essentially, the section also recognized adultery as a criminal offense. Further, section 198 of subclause 2 of the CRPC enables only that the husband of the adulterous wife to initiate proceedings for the adultery.
Right.
From this section, it can be also inferred that only the men who are having the physical relations with the married woman, which is like without the consent of the husband, shall be punishable with imprisonment or fine.
Right.
The section itself expressly stated also that the married woman cannot be punished even as an abettor to the offense, even though they consult to indulge in any kind of such physical relationship.
Right. It is to be noted here that the section relating to adultery seems to be dealing only with a physical relationship between a married man and a married woman who is someone else's wife. Essentially, what it means is the physical relationship of a married man with an unmarried woman or a divorcee or a widow or even a married woman of another man, if that man consents, does not seem to be considered as adultery.
So, Sandhya, it is also to be noted here that the section does not contain any provision for the wife of the adulterous husband to complain against him.
Correct.
Only the husband of the adulterous wife can complain, as he was considered in the eyes of law as being wronged and aggrieved. Basically, the wife was treated as the property of the husband. In other words, it's called as a chattel.
Yeah.
So hence, section 497 always remained in the news for the wrong reasons, and it was considered arbitrary and patriarchal in nature.
Correct. So as we had seen, section 497 of the IPC criminalized adultery as an offense with the imprisonment of up to 5 years or a fine or both. Now this section, which was enacted way back in 1860, continued to remain in force until 2018. Now what happened in 2018? In 2018, a public interest litigation was filed by one Joseph Shine, an NRI, challenging the constitutional validity of section 497, that is adultery sections. He challenged it as being unconstitutional. Okay, we'll take a brief look at the submissions made by the petitioner Joseph Shine as well as the respondents. Now, the respondents had submitted that if you decriminalize adultery as a concept, even from law, that would threaten the very institution of marriage, threaten the sanctity of marriage. So if you abolished adultery altogether, there could be an increase in the adulterous relationships outside of marriage. It's literally like, you know, saying it's okay to go ahead, sort.
Right, understand. On the other hand, it was the contention of the petitioner that the section 497 of the IPC and section 198 subclause 2 of the CRPC violated the articles 14, 15 and 21 of the Constitution. Now let us see what these articles are. Now Article 14 deals with the right of equality and equal protection before law. 15 deals with the right against discrimination based on religion, race, caste and gender. 21 deals with the right to personal liberty and privacy. He also submitted that the section 497 was applicable only to the aggrieved husband of the unfaithful wife. Only he could file a complaint and seek the redress. There was no right available to the wife of the unfaithful husband. This has to be very clearly noted. Further, the section also implied that if the husband gave consent to such extramarital affairs, then it would not amount to any offence. It seemed to have nothing to do with the consent of the wife at all. It was all about the husband's consent only here, making the wife to look more as a chattel. So to that extent, the wife was treated, as I mentioned, as the property of the husband, literally. And she did not have any right of her own dignity at all. This was patriarchal and completely arbitrary in nature.
Correct.
And he also further submitted that the choice of being intimate with a partner fell entirely within the personal choice of a person. So here, every individual has the right to engage in consensual relationships with the person of his or her choice.
We have seen the submissions of both the petitioner and the respondent in the Joseph Shine case. Based on the submissions, a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court unanimously, held that Section 497 was unconstitutional as it violated Articles 14, 15, and 21. And
Right.
they didn't stop there. They further said that in the course of their judgment, they made references to laws having to be gender neutral, simply because Section 497 was considered patriarchal, as women were considered as chattel or property, as you had mentioned. And whether it was adultery or not, entirely was based on the consent of the woman's husband, with she having absolutely no role in it. On all these grounds, they shot down Section 497. It was a historic judgment. 2018 was a year of historic judgments. This was one of them, saying that 497 was unconstitutional and hence it was decriminalized as an offense.
Right. So the Supreme Court has decriminalized adultery. It will still be treated only as a civil wrong, and it is a good ground for filing of divorce.
So, Subhadra, we've seen the decriminalization of adultery as an offense, and the Supreme Court has actually reiterated that laws must be gender neutral, and it has upheld the rights of equality, privacy, and right to personal freedom and liberty. Also, I would like to mention here that, as in the previous episode, we had spoken about live-in relationships, and with the LGBTQ movement also picking steam, and clearly the laws relating to adultery seem to be redundant in today's day and age. So we hope our viewers found this episode informative. Thanks for watching.